I think we grew up, we were raised Christian, and there was a period where I knocked the Bible and Christianity and religion. I got so close to being like an atheist, but then I don't know how, like, oh no, I know how it happened. It's like I started learning about. I was a weird guy. I was working on a science fiction thing at the time, and I started learning about whatever I could sciencey, and I started digging into quantum physics and superstring theory and all these advanced physics concepts written about by Brian Greene, this physicist. I forget if I think he's a Nobel winning physicist. I think he is, because he worked on superstring theory. And Michio Kaku did too. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, they realized, I realized from reading about that it's like we don't really know what we're talking about. Like you go to science class in public school. You start or college, you start getting taught things, and you think, wow, we're on the edge right now. Like we're learning so much about these things and we can throw away all these archaic beliefs and all that stuff. And the more I got into this, I'm like, and I'm realizing there's actually a lot of room for things beyond our understanding.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's the multiverse, the whole idea of like the superstring theory is that this idea that there's 10 plus times, so there's 11 dimensions within particles or something. Like that's basically like what it means is the particles that we learn about in
because they really dumb it down.
They dumb it down.
You don't realize that.
But... Oh, big time. The particles, the atoms, there's actually like 11 dimensions to each of them. Like at the like this, I guess subatomic level. I'm probably butchering this because it's been a few years since I read it. But it's like, and then the ramifications of that mean that down like somewhere else, there's another universe connected to the particles of our own universe. Wrap your mind around that.
It's just,
and so you think like, okay, then there's no God. I mean, then there's also the whole thing of like Schrodinger's paradox. You have like the idea that there's a cat in the box, and if there's a gun goes off in the box, you don't know if the cat's still alive or dead. It's actually both until you open it and see it.
Yeah.
Meaning, a particle is neither like, was it negative or positive, or doesn't take on a certain property until you observe it. The meaning of what that means though is there's physics on the bigger level, which is like Einstein's, I think, physics, and then there's the quantum level, which is when you get down to the nitty gritty. There's so many fluctuations that unless you were able to observe them all at once, which is physically impossible, you don't know what they all are. So it's like you have the bigger physics that are pretty accurate to a degree, but once you get to the quantum level, things start to be unpredictable. And one of the things that Einstein hated was the fact that he just couldn't wrap his mind around the idea that God would play with dice. He didn't think that, like, he just hated that. But you know what? I think I had developed a theory from listening to this and reading about this, and I was like, if we can't predict what a particle is, or like whatever that thing is that is changing depending on your when you observe it, what it is when you observe it, who's to say that God or some super advanced species, super intelligent species that might even be able to transcend time, and it might be us from the future transcending time now, who's to say that they're not manipulating those particles that we are not currently observing, and manipulating them to such a degree that they can then change the course of time in such small increments, but when you've changed enough of them, they make such big changes. You know what I mean? Like when you're traveling somewhere, if you change, like if you you shoot a bullet at something, and say it's like several miles away. If the wind is just enough to push it an inch, or if your scope is off by a millimeter or less than a millimeter, that bullet will go feet away from the target or more. Like that's so when you take that philosophy, that way of seeing it, apply it to what we don't understand and what we cannot predict with physics, there's room for God. There's room for not just God, but like there's room for aliens, room for like a super intelligent being that could be us from the future if we learn how to navigate through time, the dimension of time. And and who's to say, like, when you do that we're not just a different dimension of infinite dimensions that was manipulated by that being. We're just one of the dimensions that was manipulated a certain way, and there's other ones that are manipulated a different way by that being. That's where I was like, all right, yeah. Plus, my writing got better when I started praying.
So this is what brought you back to.
Yeah, pretty much.